Welcome to Biography Central. You are listening to Life of Sri Ramakrishna, a complete biography. Chapter 8, Before the Divine Mother. It was not long before Mather noticed the presence of a strange young man of fair and striking devotion in the Kali temple. As he observed the youth going about his daily duties, he felt strangely drawn to him. This attraction toward the poor, humble, unostentatious Brahmin boy puzzled Mather. He made inquiries about Sri Ramakrishna and found that he was the youngest brother of Ramkumar. A desire arose in his mind to connect Sri Ramakrishna too, in some way, with the work in the Kali temple, and he even spoke of his desire to Ramkumar. The latter was not very enthusiastic, for he knew his brother's strange psychology, his indifference to pecuniary gain and personal pleasure, and the spirit of independence and desire for freedom, which made him dislike routine work. Though discouraged, Mather gave up the idea for the time being only, hoping that later, some opportunity would come which would enable him to fulfill his desire. It was at this time that Hriday, a young man destined to be a close companion of Sri Ramakrishna for 25 years, a faithful attendant during the stormy days of his sadhana, a sincere friend in all his troubles of this period, and a mute witness of his various divine realizations, appeared on the scene. He was the son of Hemingni Devi, who was the daughter of Kudharam's sister. He was slightly younger than his uncle and had been one of his boyhood chums. As a boy, Sri Ramakrishna went often to Sihor to visit him. At the time of which we are speaking, Hriday was 16 years of age. He could find no employment in his native village. In the nearest town of Burdwan, he had no better luck. Then he remembered that his uncles were living in the newly established Kali temple of Rani Rasmani and thought that through their influence some employment might be offered to him. So he joined them at Dakshineswar. Sri Ramakrishna was delighted. Hriday, knowing his uncle's nature, made no comment on any of his actions. As he said later, he felt the magnetism of his uncle's towering personality and followed him about like a shadow. They performed all their tasks together, separating only at mealtime. Sri Ramakrishna cooked the food prepared for him by Hriday on the bank of the Ganges while Hriday took his dinner in the Kali temple. It seemed almost a divine dispensation that Hriday Ram came to Dakshineswar. He was a very clever man with great presence of mind, exceptionally energetic and always ready to bear cheerfully any personal discomfort, if thereby he could help his uncle. And he became quite indispensable to Sri Ramakrishna during his period of God intoxication. When lost in samadhi, he was absolutely incapable of taking care of his body. At this time, Sri Ramakrishna became aware of the fact that Mather was keeping him under observation and of his designs to make him one of the Kali temple priests, so he avoided him whenever possible. But one day, as he was worshipping in the compound of the Kali temple, an image of Shiva molded by himself, Mather, taking advantage of his absorption, was able to come close enough to see the image. The perfection of its modeling impressed him so much that he made inquiries as to who was the sculptor. When he learned that it had been made by Sri Ramakrishna, he was delighted and begged that the image might be given to him after the worship was over. He again approached Ramkumar on the subject of attaching his brother to the Kali temple staff, and in spite of a second refusal, was more determined than ever to acquire the services of Sri Ramakrishna in the worship of Kali. Sri Ramakrishna's apathetic attitude towards work in the temple was due to his intense conviction that there was nothing worth doing but the conquest of the flesh, renunciation of wealth, and the attainment of God consciousness. But this avoidance of Mather could not go on forever. Living as Sri Ramakrishna did in the temple garden, it was inevitable that, sooner or later, they would meet. One day, the encounter took place. Mather saw Sri Ramakrishna and Hriday talking together near the Kali temple. Before Sri Ramakrishna could make his escape, he sent for him. When Sri Ramakrishna hesitated, Hriday asked him why he was reluctant to respond to the command. "When I do so, he will ask me to take up some duties in the temple," said Sri Ramakrishna. "What harm is there in that?" asked Hriday. "He is a good and pious man, and it is no discredit to work for him." Sri Ramakrishna quietly said, "I have no intention of being bound for life. Besides, The service in the Kali temple implies a heavy responsibility, for I would have to take charge of the valuable ornaments of the goddess, and it would worry me. If you agree to take that responsibility, I may accede to Mathur Babu's request. Hriday agreed, for he had come to Dakshineswar in search of suitable employment, and here it was. Sri Ramakrishna spoke with Mathur, and when requested to accept service in the Kali temple, agreed to do so on the above terms. These were accepted, and Sri Ramakrishna and Hriday were appointed to the position. Sri Ramakrishna took over the dressing and decorating of the Divine Mother, Hriday assisting Ramkumar and Sri Ramakrishna. Soon after his appointment in the Kali temple, an incident occurred which enhanced the worth of Sri Ramakrishna in the eyes of Rani Rasmani and Mathur. It was the custom in the Dakshineswar temple to put the images of Krishna and Radha in the next room between services. They were replaced on the throne in the morning and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. On the day following the Janmashtami festival, the priest, CH8, was taking the image of Krishna to the retiring room when he slipped on the marble floor and one leg of the image was broken. This gave rise to a great commotion in the temple. Poor CH8 was immediately dismissed for carelessness. The incident was considered an evil omen for the family. A broken image could not be worshipped, and when the news was sent to Rani Rasmani, she was greatly disturbed. She consulted Mathur and convened a gathering of the pundits to advise her what to do. After a great deal of discussion, the conclusion was reached that it was contrary to the scriptures to worship the Lord in a broken image, that the Rani must throw it into the Ganges and install a new one in its place. A new image was at once ordered, but the Rani was extremely reluctant to consign the object of her former worship to the Ganges, and at the suggestion of Mathur, who had been deeply impressed by Sri Ramakrishna's trances, she sought the latter's opinion on the matter. After hearing the whole story, Sri Ramakrishna, in an exalted mood, exclaimed, "Their solution is ridiculous. If a son-in-law of the Rani fractured his leg, would she discard him and put another in his stead? Would she not rather arrange for his treatment? Why not do the same thing here? Let the image be repaired and worshipped as before." When this startling solution was communicated to the pundits, they were puzzled. Because it proceeded straight from the heart, it was so convincing, although so simple. It did not satisfy the scholars at first, but they finally had to yield. Rani Rasmani was jubilant. She had already seen the proof of the young priest's skill in sculpture, so she begged him to mend the broken image. He consented and repaired the limb so skillfully that even careful scrutiny did not reveal where the break had been. When the new image arrived, Mathur took it to Sri Ramakrishna and asked if it were exactly like the original. Sri Ramakrishna fell into a trance and said, "No, it is not." So it was set aside. A new priest was needed to fill the vacancy caused by the dismissal of CH8, and Mathur requested Ramkumar to persuade Sri Ramakrishna to accept the post. Sri Ramakrishna consented. Hriday was appointed to help Ramkumar to dress and decorate the image of Kali. I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.